And so we're going to talk about those two different things tonight. Number one, going back into teaching people how money works. We're going to start and talk about that a little bit. I mean, when we went to school, we learned a lot of different things about history and science and math. But when we talk about math, it was in the general terms about these different types of math with geometry and so forth. Well, just learning how money works is a pretty simple, straightforward mathematical equation. And it's one of the things I'm going to talk to you about tonight is the money and banking principle, specifically the Rule of 72. Is that something you've heard before?
No.
I hadn't either, and I've worked in banking for 20 years, so that's what was pretty phenomenal. But the rules...
Really? You never heard of it?
I really didn't.
That's amazing.
It is amazing. So I'm going to share with you some of the concepts and how that works, and see if you find it as interesting as Jennifer and I did. But the Rule of 72 is simply an equation to help teach people an approximate number of years it takes for your money to double. When we invest our money, we want to try to figure out the long-term benefit to us. And in the banking industry, we're pretty familiar with them. If you look downtown, the high-rises have the bank names on the top of all the buildings, Wachovia and Bank of America. They figured out how money works, right?
Right.
Yeah. So their money's working already, which is generally our money. But let's start out with just the simple concept of how the Rule of 72 works. And what it does is tell us any interest rate, John, you'd like to take and divide it into the number 72. It'll give you the approximate number of years until your money will double. So let's start off with a simple rate of 3%. Can you get 3% today?
No.
What kind of rate do you think you can get in a bank today?
1 1/4 maybe.
1 1/4 if you're lucky, and that's before tax, right?
Right.
Yeah. So you'll agree that if we got 3%, we're doing well today? Right. So if we divide 3 into the number 72, we get 24, which basically tells us it will take us 24 years at a 3% rate of return before our money will double. All right? So let's see what that does. Let's take $2,000 and we invest it. 24 years later, at a rate of 3%, our money will double to $4,000. Right? If we go out another 24 years to 48 years, that will double to $8,000. How are we doing so far?
Not so hot.
We're not getting ahead too fast, are we? Well, John, let me ask you, if I double that interest rate and get 6%, it now takes 12 years for our money to double. What do you think is going to happen when we get to the end of this period of time?
It's going to double.
That's what most people think. So let's see if that's what happens. So if we got $2,000 in 12 years, I have $4,000. In 24 years, I have $8,000. In 36 years, I have $16,000. And in 48 years, I get $32,000. So may I ask you, did our money double?
No, it didn't.
What did it do?
Quadruple.
Why do you think that is? Compounding is the reason. Because even though we double the interest rate, with the benefit of time, our money is going to be working more efficiently and more effectively. It works at an exponentially larger pace. And that's why just the interest rate can be important. The time element is just as important. The more time we have with our money to work, the more money our money will grow. So let's say we double our rate again to 12%. And you're going to say, well, Brad, I can't get 12%. I said, well, you may not have been able to if you don't know how to. But will you agree that in the financial community, the financial institutions are earning 12%? And they're getting 6% for a mortgage and 10% for a business loan and 20% for a credit card, right? So the banks have figured out how to get this kind of return. So let's say the money is invested at a 12% rate of return. In this case, the money is doubling every 6 years, right? So let's find out what happens at a 12% rate of return doubling every 6 years. So in 6 years, I have $4,000. In 12 years, in 18 years, in 24 years, in 30 years, in 32 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 Thanks for helping me out. I'm making sure you're paying attention. In 36 years, and then we go to 42 years, and then in 48 years, John, what does this grow to?
Wow, $500,000.
$512,000. Now, let me ask you, if you've invested your money at 3% for 48 years to get this, and the banks have invested for 48 years at 12% to earn this, that means they are keeping $504,000 of whose money?